One of the things I really enjoy doing here at RSNA is walking the show floor and checking out all the fantastic technologies that are available. I love checking out all the imaging, all the radiology, all the stuff that's here. But, when I'm walking around, there's one thing at the back of my mind, and that is I'm a little concerned for IT folks and CIOs on the payload that all this information requires. Radiology images, cardiology, pathology, these are very big files and they require a lot of bandwidth. And as more and more people are moving to remote locations and working from home, I've often wondered how CIOs handle the bandwidth. Well, I'm excited to sit down with my next guest here at Philips. Shez Partovi is the Chief Business Enterprise Leader for Enterprise Informatics here at Philips and the Chief Innovation Officer. I'm going to ask him about what Philips is doing to manage the payload and to move their organizations into the cloud. I can't wait for you to hear our conversation. Let's get to it.
Shez, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Colin.
I'm excited to be here with you at RSNA 24 here in Chicago. And I'm super excited because we're going to talk about the impact of all this stuff on the CIO, something we don't normally cover too much or talk about here at RSNA.
For sure. This is really an important point because everything here, of course, about radiologists and technologists that are doing the scanning and patient care. But under the hood, all this is more payload, big payloads on the backbone of a health system, storage. And so there's a CIO angle here.
I love it. Now, before we get deep, can you just give us a quick little background of yourself and your role here at Philips?
I'm the Chief Business Leader for Enterprise Informatics. That means all the software businesses in Philips are under my oversight. And I also lead innovation for the organization in all the business units. So I've been there about 3 years now. Previously, I was a neuroradiologist, a practicing neurorad. I'm a recovering neurorad. I practiced about 10 years in the United States. So that's a bit of my background.
So you definitely have that clinical knowledge. You have experienced all the stuff that you're now on the other side of.
Yes.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about what Philips is doing in the enterprise imaging space, because you don't do just the devices, you do a lot of software.
Right.
Tell me more about that.
No, our point of view on how to address the challenges of today, where the physicians are overloaded, overworked, overwhelmed, is to really bring the best hardware, systems hardware. You see MR, CT, ultrasound, angio, combine that with really intelligent and AI-enabled software, and putting this together is how we believe we can help physicians address the challenges that face them today. So you're right, combination of beautifully designed, smart hardware and incredibly intelligent AI-enabled software.
And where are you seeing any adoption or higher adoption of your enterprise software? Is there any particular function or any particular workflow that,
Well, we have, we certainly make PACS systems. We have the number 1 PACS globally. Digital pathology systems, we make that as well, number 3 globally. Cardiology informatics, all the informatics that's for cardiologists, number 1 globally. So we actually make a lot of software that mercifully our customers love using, and we're grateful to them, and they give us great feedback. And so we are actually deeply in radiology, pathology, and cardiology in those domains to help really take advantage of all the hardware that's built to be able to do the workflow afterwards for the interpretation, for the complex analysis, for the 3D modeling, and so on and so forth. So yes, we definitely in those domains have significant software assets that are all AI enabled.
Now, right up on top, you mentioned a word that I think scares a lot of CIOs. It certainly scares me, and that is payload.
Yeah.
Because when you're talking about cardiology, when you're talking about radiology, we're talking large image sizes. Tell me more about how Philips is helping to address that payload concern for CIOs.
So when we talk to our customers, both the physicians, radiologists, for example, and CIOs, here's what they tell us. They say, look, practice of radiology and pathology has changed. Remote reading is common, even in pathology. There's scarcity of radiologists and pathologists. And so there's more and more interpretive services being provided outside the hospital. Once you understand that, then you say, okay, well, if I'm doing the scanning in the hospital, how do I get this data in real time to remote locations? And so that becomes a challenge for the CIO, not only to manage the network payload, not only to store them, but then to extend secure networks to remote locations, including homes, to secure it and then deliver that large payload outbound from the hospital to locations. And so we have what we do here in order to solve that problem. What we're doing is moving these technologies of PACS, digital pathology, and cardiac informatics to the cloud. We have a partnership we announced with AWS. And so these tools will be available, actually already, health suite imaging, the pack's already available from the cloud. And so what that means is that wherever the radiologist is, securely it can deliver the information directly from the cloud. So the CIO, in partnership with Philips, who puts that payload once in the cloud, cybersecurity, 24/7, follow the sun. We manage all that in collaboration, of course, a shared responsibility, but the CIO has visibility to all the things we do in our network operations center to secure those, to deliver those payloads from the cloud to wherever the point of service is. So it becomes actually a very close partnership with the CIO and their team, because once those payloads are created, they're uploaded to the cloud into our environment, and then wherever the point of care is, that's where the images securely are. That's where the partnership with the CIO becomes significant. And not only do the radiologists love it, but actually the CIO team also loves it.
Right, because they now just have to provision the bandwidth. They don't have to manage the bandwidth itself.
Right. I mean, if you imagine, if you're trying to move those pathology, for example, if your pathologist is reading remotely, you're moving those payloads on a daily basis back and forth. Actually, the cost of that for an outbound bandwidth starts to add up for health systems as well. Not to mention just using the quality of the bandwidth itself, the slice of it. So there's a lot going on if you're having everything on-prem. And by moving it off-prem, you actually enable secure, reliable, and deliver to everywhere. So that's actually a particular strategy that Philips has picked, not because we think cloud is cool, but because that's what radiologists, pathologists, cardiologists, and the CIO tells us they want. So, and actually one last point.
For sure.
When you talk about AI enablement, so nobody wants to put GPUs on-prem. I mean, at the end of the day, that's cost prohibitive as well. And so by being able to use technology in the cloud where you just use what you need and don't use what you don't need, it means we're able to scale and use AI tools with the right amount of technology in the cloud, just the amount that's needed to make it cost competitive, to make it as affordable as possible, because the technology in the cloud is, the economics different than just racking and stacking GPUs in a data center, which really nobody, I mean, if you're a particular research site doing particular things, but in a day-to-day reading, a high volume cases, you want this also the cloud.
I got to ask about this because it just sounds so cool. But what is this Philips command center that you guys have?
So, okay, one of the other things the CIO, since your audience is CIOs, the CIOs will know they're responsible for wide area networks. They have hospital, they have outpatient centers, they have imaging centers, and so on. And so you have a responsibility for larger, and patient care is being delivered in all those points. Today, the scarcity of the techs that do the MR scanning and the CT scanning, there's scarcity. It's really hard to find. And so that means that in some outlying locations, you might not have the talent that's trained to do the sophisticated scanning in that community. What happens then is the patient has to get in a car, let's drive to the center of excellence, have the scan done. It's not good for the patient. It's not good for the outlying site. And so we built the system that over the network allows an expert in the hub to beam in and to support a technologist that's doing, let's say, sophisticated cardiac scan that is really quite difficult. Needs a lot of training. You can have an oversight to help make sure the scan is protocoled correctly. The first time the scan is done first time right, that you avoid recall, you avoid unnecessary time on the scanner as the patient has to come back. So Radiology Operations Command Center is the ability to actually monitor a fleet of sites to not only see what they're scanning, to help beam in, to support the tech to do the right kind of scanning for the right patient. So it actually, for the CIO, it rides beautifully on their network and allows the skill to be exported over their wire to where the care needs to happen. It's teletechnologist.
So you're really in the long run improving access, improving effective use of the device, because we all know, the more, the shorter time on the device, the more throughput we can
Less
have.
recalls. I mean, that's a significant thing. When you're able to take an expert and bring that expertise to bear in a remote location, you've elevated the level of care in that community.
Right.
And so that is improving access. I mean, it's a convenience. And so that is a significant opportunity. And we see, in fact, when you add that, we also have the world's first mobile helium-free MR. Our helium-free MR is lighter, so it can be put on a truck. And so some communities will have this mobile MR go, And then with Radiology Operations Command Center, you can also beam into that mobile MR to make sure the highest level of scanning is done at that site.
I love it. I love it. What else is Phyllis working on in the enterprise software space?
Oh my goodness. So we've talked about, when you look at it, this is the way to look at it. Look, we scan using CT/MR ultrasound. And when you've done the scanning, afterwards, our advanced visualization workspace has like all these AI-based applications in it. For example, for neuroradiology, multiple sclerosis, follow-up lesion detection. For lung cancer screening, lung cancer detection and over time. For prostate cancer, identifying where the cancer is and helping biopsy. So the way you look at Philips's software in the advanced visualization is, once the images have been acquired, we are working diligently to allow for the best diagnosis to be arrived from that study. That's the software space, all with AI. We have over 50 different AI-based applications. You see them here behind me. We're happy to show you. They're all around you here at RSNA. But that's the area of focus for us. We believe there's a perfect harmony between smart hardware and AI intelligent software to deliver the highest quality care with the fastest throughput.
Shez, you've shared a lot of great information with us today. Where can people go to learn more about all this great stuff?
Well, come to Amsterdam. No.
I love it.
Look, obviously at RSNA, if you're here, please come see us. Online, we have an innovation hub in Cambridge. If you're interested as a CIO, you want to see how we do this stuff, if you want to come to see our innovation site at Cambridge, Massachusetts, you can come there. We have an innovation hub in Amsterdam as well, in Eindhoven. So whether it's online, whether it's with your local representative, whether you want to come to Innovation Hub in Cambridge, Massachusetts, or in the Netherlands, come, let me tell you what the amazing things we're doing.
And what's the URL just for people who don't know?
www.philips.com.
Excellent, Shez. Well, thank you so much for being
My
on the program.
pleasure, Colin. Thank you for having a conversation with me.
Always pleasure.
Thank
Always
you.
pleasure.
Hey, I really want to thank Shez for coming on camera with me. I really appreciated that he was willing to have a CIO-centric conversation here at RSNA. It's not something I do very often here, so I certainly appreciated his willingness to talk about some of the things that they are doing to lighten the load on CIOs. I love their command center idea. I love the fact that they're partnering with AWS, and I love the fact they're putting thought into the impact that their systems are having on IT infrastructure. And hey, if you enjoyed this interview, please mash that like button and click subscribe. Also, head on over to healthcareittoday.com, where you will find more great content like this. I'm Colin Hung here at RSNA at the Philips booth. Thanks for being here, and I'll catch you on the next episode.